Well, good morning. Welcome back to the broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Monday, August 1st, 2022. And our top story today, new car prices soar, how to get the best deal. Well, joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Mark Shermer is with Cox Automotive. Mark, so great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Oh, really appreciate your interest in Cox Automotive. Thanks.
Yeah, and we're right on the cusp of new auto sales, and we wanted to reach out because it's been really challenging for many people in the audience and elsewhere to get new vehicles. And I guess my first question to you is, how are we doing overall with people buying new cars?
Well, the new car business, the new car sales business of late has been a real challenge mainly due to inventory, available supply. We look regularly at the number of vehicles on dealer lots across the country. And for the past year or so, we've been at about 1 million vehicles spread across the country. For context, before the pandemic in, say, 2019, we'd have 3.5 million, well over 3 million vehicles available. So obviously inventory is the biggest challenge in new vehicles right now.
Now what is causing that? Obviously it's the chips, there's supply chain disruption, and also I would think it's ramping back up the production, and that was kind of put on hold during the quarantines, not only here in the States, but around the globe.
Yeah, since the global COVID pandemic, the auto industry's been up and down with a number of issues. Certainly production was slowed down or stopped in a lot of cases. And if you think back about a year ago, the spring of 2021, auto sales were going fantastic, gangbusters. Everybody was buying new cars. COVID restrictions were coming off. It'd been about a year, and the sales were through the roof. Everybody was so excited. And then the realization hit that we're running out of cars to sell, and the automakers were struggling to maintain production. We were getting shut down at suppliers around the country where COVID would be an issue locally, and a plant might be shut down for 3 weeks. We had a massive issue with chips, very well documented, and getting available chips to build cars. And the production just has never fully recovered. So after a spring a year ago of fantastic sales, we've just been stuck with very low inventory, and that's been a real challenge for automakers and car buyers.
Let's talk about the prices of cars. When it's just supply and demand. When there is a shortage of houses and more people looking for houses, housing prices tend to go up. Is it the same for the cars that have been produced? If there's a third of the inventory available than what is typically available, is your average Toyota Camry, not to pick on Toyota, Hyundai Sonata, Kia Optima, whatever brand you want to use, are those cars costing more relative to where they were, or dealers are not just offering the incentives that they did?
Well, yeah, there's a number of dynamics in the industry right now, and central to that, of course, is Economics 101, supply and demand. I mean, with supply low and sufficient demand, there are very few discounts out there. There are, I would say most vehicles in the latest numbers we've looked at are selling for at or over sticker price. The manufacturer suggests a retail price. That, 3-4 years ago is unheard of. Typically a car would sell for 8 to 10% under MSRP. But for about a year now, MSRP has been considered a great deal if you're getting a car for sticker price. The other dynamic that the industry is running into is that as manufacturers are limiting production, they're having to choose what to build. And if you're going to sell fewer cars, you choose to sell higher trim levels. Perhaps you're going to focus on more profitable cars. Manufacturers, if you can only build 10 cars, you're not going to build the 10 cheapest cars. You're going to build cars that can help you stay profitable. So the available product that's out there is also more expensive. So there's a number of dynamics that are impacting prices and pushing prices to record levels.
Let me ask you about buying the traditional buying process where you put some money down, You pay over a 5-year period, typically on a amortization note. What about the lease? Of the two methods of I guess someone could pay a lump sum too if you're uber wealthy and you just can stroke a check for the Camry. I can't do that. Yeah, those are very lucky people. I'm glad they're doing so well. But is there a trend towards leasing or buying, or is it still the same as it was during COVID?
Well, absolutely. In fact, leasing is way down right now. Traditional purchases, I think if we look back 3 years, leasing would account for about 30% of new car purchases. We've been closer this year to 20% or lower. And one of the reasons is manufacturers have not been supporting leases and they've been focused on sales. Now, one of the things to remember, about 80% of new vehicle sales involve a loan or a lease, some sort of financial transaction where, only about 20% of the people are, as you said, lucky enough to be stroking a check and paying for that outright. But so the other issue that's going on in the market right now is certainly what the Fed's doing. I mean, there's been a bunch of movement in interest rates that's increasing the average loan cost. And as those loan costs go up, certainly the cost of new vehicle ownership is going up. So all these factors are, hitting the market and making sure new vehicles are, in record prices. It's expensive to buy a car right now, but that's not to say deals aren't out there and you can't, with some work, find a good deal.
Let me ask you about gas prices. One more question before we go to a commercial break, and I could spend all day talking to you about this. This is a really interesting topic, but let's talk about gas prices. Is that causing consumers to, one, buy cars or vehicles that use the lowest octane possible, so 87 versus the 93? Because there's, in some cases, 40 to 50 cent difference between super premium, duper premium versus the regular. Or are they looking at electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles, knowing that there is a premium to pay for those vehicles, right? There's something you pay in addition to the traditional vehicle.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. There's an interesting dynamic happening in the market right now, and that absolutely, if you look at, we look regularly at our traffic on Kelley Blue Book and Auto Trader, our main websites, our consumer buying sites, and the interest in EVs, hybrids, plug-in hybrids, very efficient cars has gone up significantly. So more people are shopping for those vehicles. But you can only buy what's available. And we haven't seen that translate into huge growth because mainly availability. If in a market where there's plentiful hybrids and plug-in hybrids and EVs, we might see more growth in sales there. We're absolutely seeing increases, but not what you might think. And it's mainly because of available product, not because of interest. And the high gas prices have certainly driven interest in more fuel efficient vehicles.
Well, Mark, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, how to find that new car, and we'll also talk a little bit about used cars. Why not, right? You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans, and we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're talking cars this morning with Mark Shermer of Cox Automotive. Mark, thanks so much for sticking with us this morning.
Appreciate it. Thanks for, again, taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, this is real interesting. I want to follow up. I want to talk about eventually finding a car. And I know you've got the Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book sites, but let's talk about the average price of a vehicle. That has trended upwards, but that can also be a little misleading. What about the average price of a car right now?
Yeah, right now the average price of new vehicles is getting a lot of headlines. You're reading about $48,000, and indeed, in June, we had, according to Kelley Blue Book data, a record high average new vehicle price. But the thing to remember about averages is that nobody really pays average. There's not a lot of vehicles above that and a lot below. And one of the reasons the average is getting pushed up, in addition to the fact that supply and demand dynamics are involved, one issue is that a lot of luxury cars are selling. The luxury side of the business is doing quite well right now. The larger percent of new vehicles sold each month are from luxury brands like Mercedes, BMW, Tesla, Lincoln and Cadillac, you name it. And those vehicles are doing well. So as more expensive vehicles sell, certainly that's pushing higher this average price. So, but if you think about it, there's a lot of vehicles that are well below the average. You look at a segment like the compact SUV, vehicles like the Toyota RAV4, Ford Escape, those products, those sell typically 30% below average price. So, just because the average is 48 doesn't mean you're going to spend 48 on a new car. It just means that on average, they're getting more expensive.
Mark, how do I find, what are some tips out there to find a new car? You need something, maybe your car broke down, maybe you're coming off a lease. I don't know, there's probably a lot, maybe you got a kid who's turning 16. Have they earned the car? I don't know. That's a whole different show.
That's
we'll
not
have to
for
get
me.
to that. How to know when your 16-year-old earns the right to have a car. But in any event, how do we find a car?
Yeah, well, our editors at Kelley Blue Book and Auto Trader are talking about this a lot right now. And the real trick is to take your time and pack your patience, because you're going to have to do a lot of searching around. Be ready to be flexible, be ready to move fast as well. But when I say flexible, it's important to think, don't get wed to a single product. I must have this car in blue with a black interior. It's going to be difficult to find. However, chances are with some flexibility and a willingness to shop around a lot, you can probably do okay. Also recognize, though, incentives are at a historic low. Average vehicles are selling for more than MSRP. So, the deal that might have been very obtainable in 2019 just is not, the dynamics of the market today just don't support that. It's more expensive to buy a new car right now, but there are certainly great products out there. And with some searching and with some patience, you can score a new car, and I think you'll be really happy with it.
Let's talk a few minutes about used cars. Keeping older cars on the road, there's a give and a take, right? Older cars, used cars are a little bit, or traditionally have been inexpensive, but they also lack some of the safety features of the newer cars. And from what I've read, there have been some more safety incidents, I think, reported by the National Highway Safety Administration. So what's the balance there? How do I find, is a used car still a good deal? And do we expect older cars to be on the road longer?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And the used car business is fascinating. And, you know, one of the Cox Automotive businesses is Manheim, which is the biggest wholesale auction house for used vehicles. So we touch a lot of used vehicles. We see a lot of used vehicles. And the thing to remember that a typical new car sales year is in the neighborhood of, say, 15 million. We're a little less now. We've been more in the past, where retail used cars are often over 20 million. So more used cars are sold every year than new cars. There's a lot of vehicles that are sold that are in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 years old, maybe 4 to 5. Those are very good deals. Coming off warranty, you know, maybe off a lease. There's a lot of those vehicles out there. Interestingly, if you think about the used car business, it's influenced by the new car business 8 to 10 years ago. And we were coming off a great recession a decade ago, and sales volumes were quite low. So actually, older, very affordable used cars are difficult to find right now. There weren't as many built in 2010, 11, and 12 when the U.S. economy was recovering from the Great Recession. With fewer new cars sold 10 years ago, that means fewer used cars available right now. So, you know, the very old cars are tougher to find. And to your point, absolutely, vehicles are staying on the road longer. They're, you know, better built, the technology is better quality. There's a lot of reasons. Again, I would be looking in the neighborhood of 4 to 5 years old. Those are very good products. And I'll say, unlike the new market, the used vehicle market is starting to improve. You're seeing inventory levels back to what we would consider normal, looking at 2019, 2020. And prices have, I guess we'll say, they've stopped growing. They are elevated as well, but they're not increasing like we have seen in the past year or so. So there's some stability. The other day, our chief economist said the used vehicle market is feeling pretty normal, and that felt pretty good.
Yeah, well, I guess we're going to have to see where everything goes. I guess the only balancing act there is if you have an older vehicle, a used vehicle, you got to make sure that you do the checking to see whether it's been damaged, it's got water damage, rust, body replacement, body issues, all those kind of things. So real important. Mark, we're going to have to leave it there. Great chatting with you, and thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your interest.
Thanks, Mark. Great to see you. Thanks for sharing your perspective. And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content, we'll visit our website and our streaming partners. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the First Lifestyle and Wellness Network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a tax doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.